Hey, Jason from TechAU, and the video today is all about the latest software update on Tesla. So 2020.36.10 has finally arrived, and with it comes a pretty neat feature that is proceed on green, which doesn't sound like a lot unless you've been for months now confirming every time you go through a set of traffic lights. So essentially, those of us who have full self-driving and enabled the preview, this is the experience we've had, is you know, cruising along and then you'll hit a set of traffic lights and then inevitably the lights are green and normally you just proceed through. But since the update back in March or April, we've had to manually confirm that. So I wrote a post at the time basically detailing this is quite a unique opportunity for us to evaluate how well and how fast Tesla's AI team are able to learn from the data. So starting with a new feature like this to read traffic signs and traffic lights, we're able to sort of watch how quickly it learns, how they gather the data from the fleet and then feed that into their models and then obviously push that out to the fleet. So in the US, they've had that for a little bit now for a number of weeks, and Australia has sort of, and much of the world has lagged behind that. So thankfully with this latest release, it's here now, and the experience is quite amazing actually. The first time when we enabled the feature and you're cruising along and you pull up to a red light, that's really neat. If you have this amazing feeling that, you know, there's no other car that's really doing that. But then it was kind of a little let down by the fact that when you hit a green, when you were following, that, you know, you would have to manually confirm to go through. That just felt like it was taking almost a backward step. So there's an example right there where I just proceed straight through. The car in front is going through the green, and that's enough for Tesla to sort of be confident that the intersection is clear and we're able to proceed through. So that's exactly what we're talking about, of proceed on green. And I'll do a couple of loops around this little circuit here where those lights are, and you'll see that, you know, if I have an opportunity without traffic in front of me, that the green light, you know, won't let you proceed. You still have the confirm. So that will inevitably come as the software learns even more and more. But for the minute, it's just essentially following the car ahead. But still, when you have that, that's probably a large majority of the time when you're going through traffic lights, you are following. If it's late on a Saturday night or something, then maybe you're not following anyone and you have to manually do it. It's a small price to pay, I think, for much improved safety. So the big one there is if it's a red light, you know, you don't want the car proceeding through, which every other car on the road would absolutely be happy to trounce straight through a red light. And this one doesn't, you know, it doesn't anymore. When you've got a Tesla with full self-driving, basically it takes care of it for you. So it's not like you don't have to pay attention. Obviously we're not there yet, but you can see the runway of where we're headed with this stuff, and it's getting close and it's getting exciting to see where we're headed with this. When it starts to read, you know, speed signs and traffic lights, all that sort of thing, the things that we normally take in as humans and react to, when it's doing those kind of things automatically, keeping in the lane, for example, then yeah, there's less and less for us as drivers to do. So here's an example: nobody ahead of me, and the car's wanting me to confirm. I pull down on the right stick, confirm that it's safe to proceed through the intersection, and then we go through. So as I said, I feel that's very temporary. I feel within not too short of a time they'll be able to also just use the camera vision and be able to determine the intersection is clean and you can proceed through. So for the past few months, we've really just been collecting the data for Tesla, and now that data set is obviously grown to a point where they feel comfortable that we can leverage a small extra piece of information, which is what the behavior of the car in front of us does, but then proceed through or stop. So it really does feel like just something no other car on the road can do, and something pretty special for Tesla. So that's kind of a quick look at proceed on green. I didn't hit a red light, but I think you've seen that enough before. I've certainly shown it before, which is just it pulls you up to a complete stop. Same at a stop sign, not yet a give way sign. So it's a sort of an important difference between the intersections that we have, and certainly it's not yet turning corners and things like that. So they're sort of the next steps, I think, that are coming at us. And Elon has mentioned there's this big rewrite that's happening, and it's, you know, a few weeks away from being released to the early preview program in the States. Sometime later the year, closer to December, mid-December perhaps, for a broader release in the US. And while there's not an exact timeline and an Australian release for that, I certainly would hope that's, you know, an end of the year kind of present for us, or if it's not, just falls into 2021. But supposedly that rewrite essentially means that AI has written, you know, overtaken more of the software stack. So where a lot of it used to be just programmers saying, you know, here's the data, or here's the conditions, or here's what we want to occur, and the inputs to the steering or braking, those kind of events. When you see this kind of behavior, react in this way. Or if the driver tries to do something, like I put on the indicator before and there was a car next to me, so I wasn't going to take a lane change. So those kind of things would be sort of programmed in, whereas the shift in the way that the software is being developed now and leveraging a lot more AI, it's essentially allowing the car to learn, and then it's not, you know, lines of programming that would actually determine how the car responds. It's behaviors, right? So in millions and millions of the kilometers collected, it's seen how drivers respond in similar situations, and then applies that to what should happen. So it then maps your route through the world based on those kind of parameters. And, you know, there's a million and one, well, zillions of different combinations, you know, out there in the world. The crazy part to it is that Australia is fairly unique, in that we've got a different set of road rules and stuff to the US. So the delay between the US getting a release and Australia, it's frustrating. I certainly wish that it was closer together, but that's the reality. So, you know, more cars sold in America, of course, they've got more data earlier, so naturally they would try it out there. And I also think there's a bit of it, just being an American company, they sort of want to allow their own residents to benefit first rather than the rest of the world, which is neat and I appreciate it. Hey, if it was an Australian company, I would probably expect the same thing to be true. So yeah, that's the situation with 2020.36.10. Cool new Proceed on Green feature, which I've been waiting for a long time, and thankfully it's finally here. That's it. If you don't subscribe to the channel, make sure you hit subscribe, hit the likes, thumbs up button if you enjoyed the video today. And I'll do more of them. Basically, it's as simple as that. I have been meaning to do a lot more video, and if I get the feedback from you guys, that's what you want to see, we'll make it happen.